Hello and welcome to this series of videos in which we will show you how to create apps and portals using the Silver Essence platform. To find out more, just open up the online boarding manual at training.silveressence.net. So, in this video we will show you how to do the configuration of the business controller. And since that is a new thing for you, most likely, let's show you an example of what we are going to do today. Now, last time we did the configuration of the search panel and the list columns here, and we did the configuration of the business entity here with the fields that are visible underneath the slider and which fields were visible in edit mode. Now, in this case, an organization has a number of persons working for that organization. An organization has a number of opportunities, nodes, and to-dos, related information for that organization. That's one of the things we are going to do today. If you open up the online boarding manual, I will show you what we are going to do today. The location that we created also has related information, the sub-locations. It will also have the service objects on that location and the service issues that are open at that location. And we're going to do the same thing for service issue types. We are going to add a list of open and processed service issues there. So, without further ado, we're not going to use the quick editor here. Let's start the full editor. Log on using your partner username and password to get into the full editor. And there you have it. With the modeling business controller mode, click the location business controller. And this is where we left off last time with the search panel and list as configured. And we are going to make the relation with the service issues and service objects and so on as described in the document. So, with the location, we already added the option with the extra base entity which held the number of service objects and locations. And now we are going into the edit Silver business entity mode and we will go here into the linked lists. Those are the lists of related data. Click Add Linked List to add a list to the business controller. And the first one we are going to add, that's sub-locations. Sub-locations is a list of locations that have this location as their parent location. So we select the list locations and we're going to rename it to sub-locations. Make it recognizable for the user. We click the save icon and the list will be added to the business controller. Now, as said, we don't want to have a list of all locations, so we need to add a query extension. We want to see locations where, and that's the type of query extension we are going to add. We want to see locations where parent location ID equals, and then you have two options, and we select from this list down here the location dot location ID. And when you select from that list, the data type will automatically be filled. Click the Save button to add the query extension to the linked list. So the next list we are going to add is the list of service objects. So again, click Add Linked List. From the available list, select Service Objects. In this case, the name is directly correct, so we can click the Save button. And with the query extensions, we're going to add an extension where service object location ID equals the location ID. And again, the data type will be filled automatically. Click the Save button to add the query extension. And last, we are going to add the list of service issues. So again, click Add Linked List, and we are going to add the service issues here. And here you will also see the use of multiple base entities in one business entity, because service issue itself didn't have a location ID, and that's why we added the X service issues, and we can select the location ID from there. So using multiple base entities is also a way to constrain the data you need within the business controller. So we add that as a query extension also. Let's click Save and apply these changes. And let's have a look at the preview here. We refresh the business controller location. And let's click the one at the bottom that has a sublocation and a service object. From the top icon there, you can activate the right panel with the linked list, which will be shown by default if there is enough space on your screen. As you can see, there is one sublocation. There's one service object here, and there's one service issue related to this location. So one sublocation, and the user can navigate through these lists of information. Let's go back to the list here. Let's open up the one on top, which doesn't have any sublocations. The lists will be shown as well, but as you can see, it contains no data. Let's go back again once more. And let's open up the one on the bottom again. As you can see, the location information is here on top, and the related information is here in the list. So this is the information for the sublocation. Now let's go into the list of service objects. And as you can see, we are looking at the location Central Warehouse. And in the list, it's also mentioned that this service object is at the Central Warehouse. So we don't want that. We don't want to put information twice in the screen. So let's go back to the edit mode and select the linked list of service objects. And here you can expand the panel on the bottom right, which is called Exclude Properties. We select location ID from the service object, save and apply the configuration. And now let's go back to the preview. The configuration we did there will exclude that property from the list. So when we go back to service object, the location ID will not be shown in this linked list. It will pop up in other places. Now, let's go into service issue type because we have some different problem there. Now, we click the service issue type from the list of business controllers. We go into the edit mode and we are going to add a linked list here. And from the available linked lists, we're going to select service issues. And we are going to add that this is for service issues open only. We click the Save button again to add the linked list, and we're going to add a query extension to filter out only those service issues that belong to this service issue type. So we constrain it by using the service issue type ID. Now, the next thing we need to do, we don't want to show all service issues, so we're going to add another query extension. Because the service issue dot processed should have the value 0. So if you enter a value manually, then you will also have to select the data type manually. So click the Save and Apply button, or it's not really necessary. Let's add the second list here directly before going into the preview. So again, we select the list of service issues, and as you can see, you can add the same list multiple times as long as the name you give it is a unique name. Again, we will constrain this list by adding a query extension, and again, it should be where the service issue type ID of the service issue matches the service issue type of the service issue type you are looking at. So we click to add that constraint, and then we're going to add another query extension where service issue dot processed has the value 1, and that's an integer, it's a number. So click Save to add that query extension, and from this list we are going to exclude the service issue type ID. And we will do the same with service issue open. Let's exclude the service issue type ID because that's already in the top part of the screen. Save and apply the configuration. And let's refresh the business controller here. Now, let's collapse the panel on the left. And if we now open up the service issue type, you will see there is one service issue open, and there are no processed service issues for this service issue type. So, in the same way as we added these two lists, we can add some lists to the service object in the same way. So let's go back to the editor and let me show you some other tricks you can do with the business controller. Here we have the service issue types. And of course, in a solution, you can have a lot of service issue types. So you can enter them here, enter a code and a description, and then click the Save button. But if you want to add a number of service issue types at once, it might be useful to have a button that says Save and New. And that's what you can do. If you go into the edit mode and then go to the attributes of the business controller, you can check this box, Show, Save and New. Click the little save icon there and then click the Save button to apply these changes. Refresh the business controller and let's go back to the preview. Now if you click the Create button here again, now you can enter a number of service issue types. So let's add preventive maintenance and click Save and New. Now the screen will stay open until you finish with the last one, and after the last one click the Save button. And there you have it. That's an easy way for the user to add multiple lines one after the other. Simply activate the Save and New button. You can also use the Save and Copy button, and then the values entered will even be the same. Now, one other thing you can do here is document the business controller. What is the use of this business controller in your configuration? It's maybe not something the user will benefit from, but you can use this. You can also put them in different groups. So let's create a group called Service Manager. And let's add a subgroup called Master Data. Click to save these changes, and that's a quick and easy way to document what the business controller is to be used for. That's very useful if you have to come back and redo some configuration weeks or even months afterwards. So try to document your controllers as much as you can. Now, as you might have noticed, the screens we have are responsive. When there's not enough room in the screen, some parts of the screen will hide automatically. But if you work on a mobile device, we will even switch to a mobile view. And the mobile view is optimized to work on if the user is using his smartphone. Now, let's show how to configure here an extra app, as you might call it, for location. So let's pick the location business controller and let's go into the edit mode. And in the edit mode, we go to the right tab here called controller masks. And we are going to add a controller mask for this business controller. So click the add controller mask button and we will give it the title locations, and that will also be the UI name. And here you can pick from a set of icons, and in this set of icons we have an icon called locations, and on the right we have the active checkbox. Click to save and add this controller mask, and you can now move it up and place it somewhere between the other apps. But first, let's save and apply the configuration and click the preview button here on the top right. And as you can see, we have an additional app on our start screen called Locations. And here we can select an owner organization ID and search. And if we click on the title here, we can see the details. Now, this does not behave exactly like we want. We want to search on different properties, not the ones that are from the business controller itself. So Click Add Search Property, and we will add the name property, and we will add, let's say, city. Those two properties are available for searching in the mobile app. Click to save this, and again, let's click the Save Configuration button so we can preview our changes. We click the location app, and as you can see, now we can search by using name and using city. So we can search for the central warehouse, click on the title, and there you have the information of the central warehouse. Now, that title bar, of course, that doesn't show any information we need here. So let's expand the next panel and let's add a title property. And we will pick here the name of the location, and let's add the city here. So from the list of available properties, let's select city. So those are the two properties we want to see in the title bar. Click Save Configuration to apply these changes, and let's have a look. That's much better. So now we can search on the name and we can see the name in the title bar as well. So that's much better, but we're not ready yet because there is no edit button. So let's go back here and let's expand the bottom panel. We're going to add a toolbar item and we select the type Quick Edit, because if you are working on a mobile, you don't want to edit all the fields. You only want to edit a small number of fields at once. So let's add a Quick Edit button for editing the address, and again we can pick an icon for that. The first property we added was the name, and from the list of toolbar items we open it up again, and besides name we want to change the address. We want to change the postal code, and let's say we want to change city. Those fields belong together and together they form the address. So we will make one button to change the address of the location. Click Save Configuration to apply the changes, and let's have a look. We open up one of the locations and a toolbar icon is added. And if you click on it, you can change the address. Name, address, postal code, and city. So let's cancel that and close this tab. And let's add another one. Let's say the phone number changes, so we need to have a quick edit to edit the contact details. So let's give it that name and that UI name, and let's pick the first property should be phone, and from the icons let's pick this one. Click Save. Here you could reposition it, or you can open it up again and let's add some more. We had phone, let's add fax, and let's add email in here. Click and the property will be added to the collection. Click Save and apply these changes. And when we go back into the mobile app, here you will see we have a second option to change the contact details. Now let's edit the phone number, and as you can see, it is applied directly. Now, if we go back to the full portal version and open up the same location, notice that the phone number is changed here as well. It comes from the same database. So, there you have it, the most important sections on how to configure the business controller.